Hey, like his thoughts, Georgia and Auburn. I'm gonna try to stay away from the noise of the mowers. Big. I thought it was a good win for Georgia. I think that this team has opportunities that are there. They're not quite exploding on them yet. We'll see kind of how that goes as time goes on. But 141 yards rushing. Um, I thought Auburn played really well today, by the way, but they just were not. They made too many mistakes. They didn't have the explosion that they needed when they needed it. That one play, if that doesn't happen, this is a total, blowout, so to speak. So, I don't know, man. I mean, after a while, Georgia, I think it was good to see them run the ball effectively today, but I think it's there more than we saw today too. And I think that Kirby. That was one thing Kirby got kind of aggravated, if you want to say it like that, during the game, or excuse me, during the press conference. He was saying, we can run the ball better. He's right. It's there. But there, you know, everything that happened today in college football. I mean, I see that the last thing I saw was Clemson beating Florida State's brains in, which is no surprise. But look, the elephant in the room is that the elephant got beat in Nashville. I mean, you know, this you just have to keep your head on a swivel this college football season, clearly. And I don't know all the scores. I don't know what happened everywhere else. I'll kind of put it up. But look, I thought Georgia was good. I didn't think it was anything unbelievable. I think that this is a good team that can win the national championship because there's a lot of teams out there that are going to lose games that they just, like Ohio State was not great today. Penn State was fine. What A&M did, A&M had a really good win today. Ole Miss had a really good win today. But like Oregon didn't look good. And Alabama obviously losing to Vanderbilt and getting 40 point score on them. I think listen. Alabama can't lose every game they play, but they could probably lose any SEC game they could play now. I mean, maybe not Mississippi State. I don't know. I just think it's just one of those things where you better be ready to play. Georgia 4 for 4 in red zone. That was really good. ETN 88 yards rushing. Nate Frazier and when they can unlock him and get him fully going, but shit, Carson Beck played pretty well today, man. 23, I'm just seeing this. 23 to 29 for 2 touchdowns. He was sacked twice. One of those was definitely, I think, his fault, he said. Dan Jackson played really well. Malachi Starks. They just didn't kill Auburn, which is not at all the same thing as beating them by, I think, what they win by 18, something like that. I'm sorry for all the noise, y'all. It's just where we're at. I'm not going way up to that corner and, doing this every single game. I might go a little bit higher in the stands, actually, right now, because this reminds me of when I worked at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium with all the post-game noise. But this is a good team, and they're going to have to win different ways. There's no one way you have to win. You can win any way you want to win. And today, 31 to 13, that's not a close game. It never felt close. What it felt like was they're not putting these guys away for good. That's what it felt like. And that's not the same thing as coming close to losing. And today, apparently, just winning is what you needed to do. And that's a bad loss for Alabama. And the way that some of those kids acted at the end of the game was not a good look. Was not a good look at all. We're going to try to do it this way. So I'm doing my best, y'all. Sorry. And they got to run more. I think it's there. Maybe I should speed up some more. It's there. This team has got what it needs, but it's not. They're not hitting on all cylinders yet. You can tell Kirby's a little bit frustrated by it, but it's what it is, man. But I mean, let's see, 37 for 141. So they narrowly outgained them. They outrushed them. But like Auburn, one problem is I don't know how much of this is junk at the end of the games. The penalties, again, I mean, Georgia faced a 1st and 40. They'd probably score there and put it, make it 35-10 or whatever it would have been, 35-13. I mean, that would have been, for me, a little bit more like what this game actually was like. But I think um, this is just one of those games that you'll never remember. These guys have played 129 times. This is probably not better than the top 50 game. I mean, not even close to top 50, probably. It's just not a great. I'm just trying to avoid these lights. Here, let's try. Let's try this. Um, all I do for y'all, but I'm not crossing the stadium every single time. That disrupts my evening plans. I thought Auburn ran it pretty effectively. Hunter is a good back for sure. That 38-yarder, I mean, you got to tackle him. That's all that was. You tackle him, and that game's probably over because at that point, Georgia came back and scored the next drive, if I'm not mistaken. That would have been 21-3, and so there's some stuff to work on, And the good news is that you've got Mississippi State and then Texas, and then a week off before the Gators. So obviously the Texas game, that's going to be a real challenge for Georgia. But Kirby was talking about night about welcome to the SEC. He's right. I mean, it's so hard to play in this league. We see it all the time about just not even the Vanderbilt result, but this game in particular. I mean, last week with Alabama. I mean, it's just a challenging. It's just a challenging situation, and I think Beck gained some confidence last week in the second half. I think that was a good start to what could be a good year for him. I don't know why. There's certainly an explanation for why the grounds crew does this right at the end of right after the game, but I couldn't tell you what it is. I'm certain there's a good explanation. It really screws us up, though, I gotta say. Um, but these guys got to realize that the national champion may have 2 losses. I mean, you're looking at the only undefeated team, I think, in the SEC now is Texas. Is that right? Um, it's hard to get there. It would be hard to start the season thinking that was the case on October 5th. No, Tennessee's undefeated, excuse me. But we'll see if they are by the end of the night. I mean, they're going on the road to play out Arkansas, which is not the snake pit of Commonwealth, and apparently of Vanderbilt Stadium, but it's a snake pit nonetheless. I've been there many times, and it's tough to play. I wanted to say, too, that this is my 27th. I've got text messages coming in. This was my 27th Georgia Auburn game. So I've been to every one since 1999, which is now that's 25, and I believe that's 26 in a row. And I was at the 96 game as well down there. And this game became very much old school 2000s, even 90s Georgia Auburn, just like no one's going to blow anyone out. You're going to have to fight to score over 20 points. You're going to have to fight to get a win. And, all of a sudden, I thought that Georgia didn't get the ball a lot. They didn't get off the field on third down the way that you'd like to on defense. Well, you know what, man, though? It just was, it seemed like they really did, actually. It was 4 of 13. But, it seemed like those 4 cost them. It felt that way. I don't know. But I agree with Kirby at the end. Listen, Kirby was trying not to be fired up in the press conference. I'm certain he watched the Alabama game and saw the result of that. But I'm sorry. I just, these lights are driving me crazy. I'll just do it like this, maybe. But this situation, everybody's going to have to grind it out. This is not going to be easy. Just because I don't know what the loss for Alabama means for the playoff. There's no explanation for them losing that game. They are fortunate they beat Georgia, or they would be on serious death watch right now with the schedule that they've got. They should have never lost that game. I mean, I watched it some, But I mean, you'll have to excuse me if you're allowing 40 points to Vanderbilt. Maybe you deserve to lose. I mean, you give up 40. I mean, they gave up 40 to Vanderbilt. They gave up 34 to Georgia, and it could have been worse. Um, so, the other thing, too, that Kirby was saying was that, let me just sit in one of these chairs, one of these fancy chairs. There we go. The other thing that Kirby was talking about, and he's correct about this, too, is this past week, and I'm guilty of it, and I'm sure the kids on the team are, too. This past week, there was a lot of discussion about the Alabama game. And how could you not? I mean, it was a classic. And probably the Vanderbilt game was a classic, too. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch enough of it, at least. But it may be that Steady wins this ball game, like wins the whole thing. It may be that way. It may be that it's Ohio State's year. It may, I don't know. I wrote after, make sure you're signing up for our newsletter, and you can see these sorts of things. I mean, I wrote last week, maybe we saw the best two teams in college football. It's up to Georgia to prove that. Looks like Alabama still got some proving to do too. That South Florida game was not great. The second half against Georgia was a disaster. The game in Vanderbilt's a disaster. And the way some of the kids, number 13, I think it was for Alabama on defense, kicking the ball at the end of the game, like you wouldn't see that here. You wouldn't see that here, and you wouldn't have seen that with Nick Saban, or I never did. So it's kind of problematic over there right now. Here, as a contrast, they came out and handled business. I mean, I thought both those teams would have harder games than people thought because of the situation. Next week with Georgia and State, you could have a look ahead game. State's got a lot of problems though. I mean, the truth be told, State's got a lot of issues that I'm not sure they can match up great with Georgia. There's a lot of problems that State's got defensively and so forth. But in this league, you have to come out and do what you're supposed to do, or you will not win. And Georgia did that, and Auburn is good enough to beat people. They have not great quarterback play with Peyton Thorne, but he's athletic enough to drive you crazy. And it's a challenging league that these guys live in, and it's not getting any easier, I don't think. I think that the close of the half was you can just feel Georgia scoring. It's almost like whenever they punt, they failed, and that's not how it works. I mean, just because you get broken in tennis doesn't mean you've lost a match. That's not how it works. Sometimes you don't serve well. Sometimes the other guy's balling out or whatever. Just because you got a punt doesn't mean it's all bad. Well, we saw the correct call. I think I would not have reached for that field goal at the end of the half. He did. I mean, I thought that was very good coaching last week. I thought they were not ready last week. They were ready this week. I thought that the coaching, that was an indictment on them last week. But I cannot sit here and say anything that I thought was bizarre or strange or the kids weren't ready. None of that stuff. That just wasn't the case. They didn't look great in warm-ups, but who cares? And warm-ups are not indicative of what's going to happen because there's so much execution that has to happen and so forth. I do want to touch on one thing that Kirby said that I've talked about a lot through the years, which is the crowd at Sanford Stadium. It's good, it's not great. And it can be great. It's not great a lot. And he is correct now that we've entered like the Dabo phase of his time. He's got a couple of national championships. He feels like he can say what he needs to say. I think he was essentially saying to this crowd tonight, hey, we need more from y'all. I don't remember the last time that since the Tennessee game in 22 that the crowd here has been just electric. It's been a while. And I think that, you're looking at a team that hasn't lost here since 2019. They're not doing you a favor by going out and beating the shit out of people all the time. They are your team. You should be cheering for them. I mean, South Carolina does a great job. Auburn does a great job. South Carolina, Auburn, LSU, those places. And I understand when I go, I'm watching Georgia play. So it's a huge game, a huge moment, and for Georgia, though, I mean, it's Auburn. Like, you're not going to be fired up as a fan for Auburn. Auburn can always beat you. I think there's been one time, the 2012 game, where there was just like no shot of them losing that game. I would say in '99, but Ben Lear came out here and threw the ball all over the place and they won. So I think the crowd has got to kind of get it going a little bit more. And they don't know how powerful they are. The Greeks checked out as soon as they could. They checked out, and that's their prerogative. But I mean, the frat house is going to be there when you get back. And I know it was hot, dude. I know the sun comes right from there to that corner of the student section. It's tough. It is tough, but he's right, man. Like last week at Alabama, I thought it was a good crowd. I didn't think it was unbelievable, just from my perspective as a person who's done this almost a quarter century. I thought it was good. I think it was. I don't think you were like living in fear over there. It wasn't LSU. It wasn't Auburn. It wasn't South Carolina. Even it was fine, but it was like here can be rock. You can rock here, and that needs to happen a little bit more. If you want Georgia to win in a big way, like sitting on your hands or whatever it is, that's not going to work. I also think that the offensive play calling, they were trying to cut Auburn's throat today. That deep ball to Oscar Delp, or Lawson Lucky that wasn't connected, that would have been a big shot. And the other thing is, too, just off the top of my head, Georgia's got to end games quicker in a way. And the offense is coming really close. It's not there, though. And there were moments with running backs that took off and didn't quite get in the end zone, or there was a hold or whatever. But this offense is sort of consistently scoring over 30 points now. They didn't against Kentucky, but they're consistently scoring over 30 points. It's looking like what I thought it would look like, but it's not getting into the end zone quite as easily as maybe it should. And that's, I love Frazier. I think he should play more. He is electric, but there's a reason why he's not playing more, and I don't know what that is. I don't go to practice. They don't ask my opinion, and they know what they're doing, right? So whatever he's missing, they need him. And, it's there. Alabama is all or nothing. That's what it looks like to me. And that's got them to 3-1 or whatever they are, 4-1. But that loss now, like they can't lose to Tennessee. They won't play for the league championship. They can't lose to LSU or lose to Auburn. They play like they did today, and Auburn plays like they did today. Auburn wins the game. So there's Georgia's got plenty in front of it that's going to be tough. Texas, Ole Miss, the Gators. Yeah, I said it. Um, you know, Tennessee will be a monumental challenge. But maybe with the exception of the Texas game, and I'm not even sure I could say that, they probably should win all those games. Um, but it's going to take consistency. I think 2024 is about consistency, and we're going to see that as we go. Make sure you're going by Red Zone. They were slammed this weekend, which is awesome. But go by there when you come into town for state. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody paying attention to us. If you see me on the field, I can usually hear you, but not always. So say hello. But I just have to tell you, I cannot always hear. And Dean sounds a lot like defense. So if I don't hear you, it's not because I'm ignoring you. But anyway, thanks for all y'all watching, and we'll see you on the next video.